we're now going to let people have our own AI sports agent over time. Our revenues went from 20% Web3 in NFL to 65% Web3.
By the end of this year, there's a lot of reports saying that AI agent transactions are going to take over humans.
Somebody played 200 games a day so far. That's like 6 hours a day. That's a full-time job. So the super token I think is really fascinating. I think that's a really great one. The idea of like, yeah, I'm just going to have AI play it for me. That's not really a game anymore. That's like an economy, an automated economy.
Give me your hottest take on Web3 industry today.
A lot of people don't really realize this, but 90% of Web 2 games fail. Like 90%.
All right, so let's talk about the Mythos Chain.
Yep.
So, I mean, judging from what I can see, you guys must be basically propping up the whole Polkadot ecosystem.
We're a big part of the ecosystem. Yeah, we're definitely a big part of the ecosystem. I think I wouldn't say we're propping the whole thing up, but we're definitely on the bigger side of that.
With those
right
big
now.
shoulders there, I can see them.
And I honestly I love that ecosystem. I mean, for us, we have a little bit different proposition. I mean, what we were looking for was there's always that product triangle, and they always say pick two. You can't have all three, of like time, money,
speed.
Speed, exactly.
Security.
What's been really interesting is that we've kind of gotten all three from the Polkadot ecosystem, right? Now, a little bit different needs. I'm not saying any chain is perfect. I think you can go through anybody. There's pros and cons with
100%.
absolutely everybody. But I think for us, it was really interesting because, one, we were able to kind of have our own L1 effectively, using our token as that, as securing the network. So we've gotten a lot of that. We have the ability to kind of change the rules, rewrite the rules through the DAO. And so it's really our chain, right? But then we have that, we're backed by the security of that relay chain. And honestly, I think if you look at almost any other metric, it's the most secure I've seen out there. It's it's a very, very powerful relay chain. So we love that. There's definitely some ecosystem support we'd love to have a little bit more of sometime.
Well, they have a booth here, so I'm sure they'll be very happy to talk to you later today.
They're very active here. So I think that's great. And I think for us, it's really allowed us to build the Mythos chain the right way. I honestly think too, what Gavin's doing with Jam, I've talked a lot with Gav, and I think his direction of where he's going with Jam is light years ahead of anybody else, frankly, in the industry right now. So, I mean, ultimately, he's kind of moving on from, we're not just DeFi, right, or not just parachain. I really think that what he's building is where every consumer, real business app will eventually live. It might not have the most liquidity for DeFi yet, but I think if you're building real applications, I mean, basically, he's building a decentralized AWS in a way, right? That's kind of what Jam is. If you want to summarize it, it's Amazon Web Services completely decentralized. And that's pretty powerful. I think that's the way we think about it. We think about things in terms of social and distribution and all that, not just economics, right? And I love that vision. And I think he's building something great.
No, I mean, I was a big user of Polkadot, obviously, in 2021, Kusama, Parachains, Moonriver, I went through all that fun. And I still am a fan of Polkadot because I'm a fan of Gavin Wood. Again, I respect, I mean, he's British, I'm British, that's it, guys.
That's it.
We're finished. No, but like, obviously, he's built something like incredible, great security, like you said. I've heard it all before. I was a big holder, but still I'm a supporter from a distance.
Yeah.
So, like, I love that ecosystem. And if it was up to me, I'd be very happy to see that grow. I guess, but just thinking of my previous knowledge about it was that since you're onboarding the masses, but then I remember that the Polkadot JS was like super fiddly, onboard. Like I don't know if it's improved in the last year or two.
It hasn't.
So how are you dealing with that abstraction layer of the the wallets?
Yeah. So most of our transactions are still done in fiat, right? So like we actually transact from Apple currency, from buying out Apple currencies, credit card, all that.
Yeah.
You're receiving the token in the back end, and then we have payment out. So basically, we have huge amounts of ramps in, ramps out, right? So a lot of the consumers, they're just super happy. A lot of them are brand new to crypto. They're brand new to Web3. We make it really easy for them. You come into the game, you automatically have a wallet, you start receiving items, you start trading them. I have a balance. I can put it back in the economy or I can take it out. It's pretty straightforward. And that works really, really well. So that works well for us. I will say, the Polkadot JS is not my favorite thing, but there's some amazing new wallets. I mean, honestly, there's a wallet called Nova and Subwallet. They're great wallets. Nova is one of the cleanest UIs I've seen. I would put Nova up there with Phantom, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's just like for our network, you can literally, there's DEXs built in, there's swapping built in, there's staking built in, there's governance built in. Right from the wallet, I can vote on any referendum I want to. It's really well done, and a lot of it's growing too. It's growing in a pretty big way. So I think it's kind of like a Phantom and type infrastructure. It does everything we need, and honestly, consumers are pretty happy with it right now. Can it be better? Of course. There's always more things we want to do, right? But I think it's really working for millions of wallets for us. And I think it'll be soon tens of millions or hundreds of millions of wallets.
Awesome. So I think I was, and I think the whole industry was extremely excited about Web3 gaming back in 2021. They were so well funded. We had a gaming division at my agency. We did gaming events here at OBW, and obviously the excitement didn't really get fulfilled, if we're being honest, based on the investment and the excitement that was around. Now, obviously, what you guys are doing with Mythical on the fundamental side, you're like a unicorn running through the field. But like, what is the current state of the Web3 gaming market, and why do you think it hasn't performed as well as people would have liked?
Well, I think the first one is it actually is performing about the same as a Web 2, if you think about it. So a lot of people don't really realize this, but 90% of Web 2 games fail. Like 90%. So you literally have 1 out of 10 that's going to have any shot at survival. Making games is hard, right? What's even harder than making games is shipping a game. And what's harder than shipping a game is getting that game to be profitable and sustainable. These are very tough challenges, right? And I think a couple things that I've seen in Web3. One, there are great studios. I met a team yesterday. I'm going to go see them a little later today, a Turkish team. These guys know what they're doing. These guys are great game developers, like really, really, really good game developers. We're just now seeing those all come in, right? Their game's not out, right? It's about to go alpha, right? That's one thing we've been missing. Two, games take a really long time. I like to use the example. One of my buddies, he was one of the creators of Grand Theft Auto, right? So he was Rockstar Games, and he has a new game, non Web3 for now, but he has a new game now. To put it in perspective, he's been working on this game for 9 years. So before I started Mythical's 8 years old. He started the game before we created a company, and his game is not out yet.
Wow.
Like, there are games like that. Now, I'm not saying 9 years is the average. That's on the rare spectrum. I mean, he has this crazy vision that's going to be amazing, but it can take that long. I'd say the average game is 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like they change very quickly, right? And like, we'll just have 6 games out tomorrow.
But it's been 4 years since
it has
2021.
been 4 years, yeah. But you think about mobile, like mobile games really didn't take off till like, I'd say Supercell and those guys came out, year 9 of the iPhone, year 8 of the iPhone?
Yeah.
So it took a while, and then suddenly everybody kind of jumps into it. So I think that's one thing. The other big one too is that there is a challenge with the way people do Web3. They lead with the token. That's tough. We tried that before. We did a pre-sale with one of our first games. We don't do pre-sales anymore, right? It's just like you set the wrong expectations to the community, right? If everybody in Web 2 gaming knew about the game on day one, they'd be very disappointed too, because 9 out of 10 games get canceled, right? And most people don't even see a game in Web 2 until maybe early access, on Steam or on some type of play test. But that's usually very late in the process. Web 3 has decided to kind of move that to even negative days sometimes. Like, hey, I have a thought for a game. I'm going to start growing that. There are great benefits of some of that, building that community.
Yeah.
But there's also great disappointment if the game doesn't work out. I think that's the biggest issue with Web3 gaming is that if you're coming in, you need to have an appetite that probably 90% of it's going to fail. And that's not really how crypto seems to work. It's kind of like, if I come in, it's absolutely happening, right? And that's just not the reality of gaming in general. So that would be my word of advice, is that if you're coming in early, be cautious, right? I'm hoping to see, our FIFA game, we didn't sell anything until like 2 weeks before in the soft launch, right? And we never sold anything outside of the game, right? So I think that's the better model, is don't lead with a pre-sale. I'm not a huge believer in single game tokens. I think I like ecosystem game tokens. There's a couple of them out there that I really, really like, and I think ones I would bet on long term. I'm not a big fan of single game tokens. I just think that, even a Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty is not, a currency in Call of Duty is not backed by oil reserves. It's not backed by a military, right? It's purely a supply and demand curve.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that supply and demand curve right, you don't have the faucets and sinks correct, there's only one way that goes, right? And I think that's the problem. So I definitely believe in ecosystem tokens. Like, I wouldn't even bet on I'll use another competitor. I don't know if I'd bet on a GTA token, right? Because unless it's in a GTA ecosystem token, I wouldn't bet on a single game token, because it could do really well for a while, but eventually games will have a supply and demand shift, right? And then if you don't do that right, the token can go to nothing. So I would believe in a Take-Two token, right, as an example, in the traditional world, because now you're betting on multiple games in that ecosystem. So I love that. I think that's one of the problems with Web3 though right now.
So you just mentioned that there are some ecosystem tokens that you would bet on. What are those?
I mean, I think there's several of them. I mean, I think what the the super token I think is really fascinating. I think that's a really great one. Elio Trades, great person. We've done some talks.
Good friend as well.
Yeah, I love what they're doing. I love what we're doing. Obviously, even Ronan. I really like what Ronan's doing.
Yeah,
there's some of them that are great, and they're starting to put real ecosystems behind it. I'd say those are probably my 3 favorite right now. I think a lot of them outside of that, there's not a lot of substance to it personally. But there's good ones out there that I think you can get behind. So and that's our goal. We're trying to basically build up massive fundamentals behind what we're doing. I think that's the way to lead the space is let's just put great games that are being used a lot in token activity.
So we talk about AI on this channel a lot, DeFi, DeFi, AI agents, etc. So obviously, how are you seeing AI getting into gaming? I've seen concepts of AI agents playing the games for you, earning money. What is your take on the AI agent space in gaming?
Well, AI is going to revolutionize absolutely everything in every industry, right? I don't think there's a single industry that I can think of that's not going to be somehow affected by AI.
Yeah.
So and we've already seen it from production side, from localization. There's a lot of benefits, and what I would say in gaming right now, in general for AI, is if I've had a couple buddies, and I think this is where the gaming industry in general is going to struggle. Is there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm building a game for a 7-year, like real big studios. It's going to be a $200 million game, and it's going to come out 7 years from now. I'm like, oof. Like somebody else is going to come out 4.5 years from now using AI and beat you to market with a 10th that budget, right? So I think that's the biggest thing I worry about with AI right now is I wouldn't be making long bets unless you're. So I think any team that's not thinking about AI in a big way right now is big. But in terms of the games themselves, I still maybe I'm too old school. I believe games are made to be played.
To be fun, yeah.
And I think that's really what we've seen over the last couple of decades is that the mindset, it's about escaping. It's escaping the reality to be in another world, right? And I think the idea of like, I'm just gonna have AI play it for me. That's not really a game anymore. That's like an economy, an automated economy. Now, what I do think is interesting, and we're going to go very heavy into this. What we have seen is we've seen a lot of volume come up recently, and a lot of volume per player started increasing over the last 6 months. And we're like, that's really interesting. What's driving that, right?
Yeah.
And we have seen a lot of players now are figuring out how to use things like Claude or ChatGPT Operator to build their own trading system, which I think is awesome. If you now let players, because what I love about like especially sports games, everybody has a different value what is valuable to them. I'll use baseball in the US. Like I grew up in Dallas. I was a big Texas Rangers fan, right? The Detroit Tigers didn't mean as much to me. So I personally had a bigger affinity for one team over another team.
Yeah.
Somebody from Detroit could have exactly the opposite. So there's different value systems of what's valuable to me. So let players create their own systems. Like, hey, I'm going to pick off all the groups here, and I think that's awesome. So we are going to lean very heavy into that. We had this concept of quick trade, which changed our numbers dramatically to where players don't necessarily just need to buy and sell. They can now trade, and we effectively were able to do a multi-legged trade, and that's been huge for us. We're now going to let people have our own AI sports agent over time, right? It's like, cool. And the idea behind that is if a player can come in from any country and say, look, I'm starting with a thimble, and I want to trade my way to the Ferrari, right? You're not going to just go from one to the other unless you want to put a lot of money into it, right? But I could kind of trade it slowly up, right? Yep. And I think that's amazing. And if I wanted a Messi or I wanted Ronaldo in the game, it might be out of my financial reach right now. But what if I had an AI sports agent coaching my personal experience through how do I get there? Who should I trade for next? And what do I need to do with them? Like, cool, trade for these 3 players and then slowly level them up and then trade in. And I think that's where AI becomes tremendously valuable for both the game developer and the player itself. So AI will definitely permeate. I'm not a big fan of people just coming in and playing. I think AI assistance is huge. AI mechanisms that maybe can do stuff while you're not playing directly. But I'm not a big fan of the concept of like, just AI is going to play the game for me because it's not really much of a game now.
All music to my ears, the AI agent, sports agents. I haven't actually thought of that. I've only thought a bit about trading. So the DeFi, definitely got DeFi con happening today.
Yeah,
It's on here somewhere. So I actually spoke about that in my opening speech about like how are Web3 businesses, or even Web2 to be honest, like how are you pivoting your front end and your business model? Because by the end of this year, there's a lot of reports saying that AI agent transactions are going to take over humans. Yeah. Whether that happens at the end of this year or early next, it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think enough businesses are thinking about, only the people that are really knee deep in the space are thinking about, okay, so how do you make your front end most searchable, for in ChatGPT? And
that's so amazing you said that, because so we have a product called D-Market as well, which is kind of our marketplace 1.0, and anybody can trade any asset there, so it's not necessarily specific to our games. So that's where we've seen a big growth. I think like 20% of that volume now is suddenly AI driven.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we've been testing recently. Is like, well, what happens when we lean into it? Make the APIs easier to be consumed by AI systems. Make it so it's easy to prompt what you're looking for by pulling that data. And I think that's exactly the direction you go. You don't try and squash it. You don't try and compete with it. You embrace it and just be like, hey, somebody was laughing. They're like, at some point we're not going to need UI because it's all going to be just APIs and AI agents will basically take care of it for you. I don't know if I believe in that completely, but I think a large percentage will be driven by AI. I'd say right now we're in the D-Market product, it could be up to 20% now of volume is coming through AI agents.
Are you collaborating with any, like, let's say native AI agent projects, as native as they can be at this stage, like Virtuals or Eliza OS? So have you had those conversations, or you're doing it yourself?
We've been doing it. I mean, again, we haven't done it on chain yet. So we have one of our big advisors with Mythos is tied into kind of Fetch and that kind of ecosystem over there, the Singular, the AI project. So we're definitely learning a lot about on-chain. Right now, I wouldn't say we're doing it on-chain. We're basically using traditional AI systems right now to enable more transactions on-chain.
Yeah.
I definitely see an opportunity to bring it more on-chain in the future, but we're not quite there yet. Yeah.
Okay, so give me your hottest take on Web3 industry today.
I think a couple things. I think one, we are literally seeing tens of millions of people now, very soon to be hundreds of millions of people, hundreds of millions of wallets happening. And I think the key behind that is delivering the way they want to transact. Don't force them into a new paradigm.
Yep.
Do it the way that they want to transact. And I think the companies that do that are going to see huge things happen, right? So
like
to
your
me,
company.
What's that?
Like your company.
Well, I'm hoping we're doing all right so far. But I think that's really the key, and I think that's where we messed up in Web3 a lot. Is like gamers in our industry, right? And I think you could apply this to anybody in Web3. Who's my constituents? Who am I going after? How do they transact now? How does Web3 enhance that? Not like, here's how they transact now, and we're going to take that away and give you a new form. And that's kind of what happened with the early Web3 gaming, right? If you think about the gaming systems, it's two panels, right? And we've been doing this for 40 years in games. There's two panels in Baldur's Gate. There's two panels in World of Warcraft. This is what I want. This is what I'll give you. And then Web3 kind of is like, no, we're going to take this away, and it's going to be bids and ask and floor prices and a spreadsheet. And they're like, why are gamers not doing this? That's not how they transact. Yeah. So what we found out, like with Quick Trade, is we're like, cool, give them that same thing. I want this, great, here's the price. Here's what I'm able to give up. Here's the real-time prices. Select the ones I don't want, select the ones I want, match them together. Our revenues went from 20% Web3 in NFL to 65% Web3. Over half of the revenue from NFL comes from Web3 trading after we made that change. Right? So if you embrace it the way, whoever your constituents are, I'm using gamers, that's my world. However they transact, Web3 will enhance that if you give them something familiar. And I think that's the biggest take for me right now. We're seeing more of that, right? But still, some of the DeFi stuff, some of the bridging stuff, it's so goddamn complicated. Make it easy, make it simple, make it work for consumers, and they will come. They're not afraid of this. They just don't want to be completely swapped out to something new immediately, because that's just a slower take rate,
John, we could probably talk forever.
Probably could. We're having a good time. I'm having a good time. Yeah, this is great.
But let's wrap this up.
Okay.
And what would be your final, if you could say anything directly to your Mythos community and token holders, what would you like to say to them?
So, well, first of all, come play FIFA Rivals. It's available in all the stores right now. Come play that. It's free to play. I love it. And people are getting, we've had somebody play 200 games a day so far. I'm like, you start doing the math on that. That's like 6 hours a day. That's a full-time job. So players are loving it, coming into it. I think from the token side though, what's really fascinating is we are seeing millions of consumers now join this thing. We're about to turn on the web marketplace and all that. And we know we're a transaction. We've seen it before in NFL. We know what we can do with a much bigger audience.
Yeah.
And the sustainable tokenomics are there. Like you can already see it. We're already deflationary. You suddenly take that and amplify it, you can see where it goes. So we think we're so excited on where Web3 is going. We think Mythos and Myth token is going to lead the way. And it's going to be a fun year.
Amazing. Well, John, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Guys, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.